On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, the Avs start the season with 3 straight losses. Not what we expected. When will the first win come, Mr. Sullivan? Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOP_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. When you do, chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast, which we will do later on. Yeah, double thumbs down on that one, because it's a struggle right now, man. And it's, you've started the season with 3 straight losses. I think they said at the end of that broadcast, it's the first time that's happened since the 2008-2009 season. Not something you're really used to being an Avalanche fan over the past handful of seasons. But this one was different. This one almost felt like the first 2 games. It was, you're piling on Georgiev and how he played. This one just seemed like a total team meltdown, and just got to the point of like disinterested. And I don't know, like we were talking yesterday on how it's in Georgiev's mind, and it's a mind game for him. Do you think the fact that this happened for the 3rd straight game, that they're behind and giving up as many goals as they did, 6 in this one, an empty netter, but 6 you gave up. Now you've given up 8 goals, 6 goals, and 6 goals. After it gets to like 4-1, is it now a collective issue of getting into the mind of the team now? Now it's like I said in the opening, when are we getting the first win? The team's got to be thinking that same thing too. Like that was an ugly game. It was an ugly game. They did so many things wrong, and now how we've been talking about Georgiev for the first 2 games, you can take that and for at least for this game, it was everything.
All right, looking at this game, this was probably the worst game the Avalanche played, and we were talking after the last game, like the forwards looked good, defense looked good, Georgiev looked bad. So 2 out of 3. This one was 0 out of 3. Like they left Georgiev in wire to wire. He had 32 saves. Congratulations. Wonderful. You've given up 20 goals in your first 3 games. This is an Avalanche problem. And, I think it's something that we kind of got comfortable with. And I think the Avalanche are finally going to have to learn something here. We have said 100 million times, with Cale Makar, Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, you show up to the rink, you're going to win a game. Well, not so much, my friend. You have this team right now, and you saw it pushing towards the end of the 3rd period. This team has to learn how to win as a team. Yes, you have good pieces, but they have to learn to work together. This is basically the 3rd preseason game for this team, because you're playing with guys that you haven't played with in preseason. Like, this is the full roster construction, and they're learning how to play with each other. And yes, Cale Makar isn't hitting 100%. He's not looking 100%. Nathan MacKinnon, he's getting over emotional. Mikko Rantanen's checking himself out. But if this team wants to win and make a push and not be the subject of all these jokes, and they sure are shielding Nashville from their winless start, but Colorado, they have to learn how to win as a team. You can't just show up and expect to win with your talent, which you have for years. Now you have to figure out how to overcome this and win as a team. Cale Makar needs to look, Taser's not there. How do I do my job without Taser propping me up? Nathan MacKinnon, hey, my goals aren't going in. My shots aren't going in. What do I do? and you have to utilize the players around you. This is a jumping off point for the Avalanche. They can either galvanize and turn on players on the team like they did last year with Ryan Johansson, or they can look at each other and say, hey, this is not what we do. Let's figure out what we need to do to win on Wednesday.
Well, and you mentioned Taves, like he wasn't there. That was at first he was not at morning skate, and I think Bednar said that it was just like a maintenance day for him. And then he was out. He was out of the game. I think they said a lower body. I don't know if it was upper. I mean, it's either upper or lower. Was it lower? Yeah.
Middle body.
And somewhere between the upper and lower body. And you had, like, here we go again. Like, and I know Bednar likes to do this. So he was out. And DeHaan was a healthy scratch. So now you put Shillington up on the top pairing with Cale Makar. I mean, I want to feel like Cale Makar can play with anybody, and he's one of those guys that you put anybody with him, he'll make them look better. But those two guys have zero history together. Mm-hmm. None. I don't understand that move, and I also don't understand, like, he messed with the forward lines as well. And we were talking all preseason about, you need these early games to get in the flow with these guys. So what he had Kovalenko on the top line against Columbus, who I thought played very well. And then he throws Colton up there on the top line and drops Kovalenko down to the third line. And I just didn't, I didn't like that. I'm like, you need to keep the team together, at least in the beginning of the season, and not do all of this movement around. Now, I say that, and for the most part, I thought they were okay. For the, like, Colton had a nice goal. No, he didn't have a goal tonight. Who am I thinking of? Who
Casey had
Middlestat.
one.
Middlestat had another one. Callum Ritchie had a great one, which we'll talk about. That was it. Middlestat, yeah, because the Middlestat one was on the power play. I don't know, or maybe just after the power play ended. I don't know if it counted as a power play goal or not. I don't think it did, but whatever.
I don't think it did.
Yeah, I'm not using the injuries as an excuse. But yeah, you are down Taves and you're not down all those other guys that we knew we were going to be down those guys. That's why you can't use it as an excuse. You can say Taves hurt. Clearly it does. But the other guys, we know they're not going to be back for like a month. So they're not going to come into play every time that there's a loss. I'm not going to do that. But I thought at the end of the first, you had a nice little dust up at the end of the first period. Logan O'Connor was not happy. He thought there was a missed penalty. The refs just let this game go. They let him pretty much play, which, if you're going to do that, fine, just do it for both sides. And I thought they did, but there were some penalties which should have been called, which were not. Okay, fine. If that's the type of game you're going to play, then fine. And that little, like, scrum at the very end of the first, when McKinnon just who was it that he hit? Romanov. Mm-hmm. He was going for the hip check, and McKinnon was like, nope, that's not going to happen. And then you get the fight at the end. I thought that would carry over into the second, and it really carried over for the Islanders. Let's not take away with how the Islanders played in this game. The Avalanche what the Avalanche are doing is they're playing so bad where the other teams are capitalizing on it, and it hasn't happened the other way around yet. It hasn't happened where the other team screws up, makes a mistake, and the Avalanche have capitalized on it. It hasn't happened. But the Islanders played an excellent game with a phenomenal performance in goal by Sorokin. He was great.
Now, I will give credit to Sorokin. He did play out of his mind. And I think the Avs are making other teams look better by the style that they're showing up to the rink and trying to play. And it's almost like a beer league style. Like, you know who your stars are and you force feed them. And like I told you before we started, I watched this entire game muted. I didn't want any influences. I didn't want to be swayed any way. I want to watch the product on the ice. There's a lot of puck chasing. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of being out of place and having to compensate for overplaying D or not back checking. Like, this team, if you watch it muted, just watch them move around, they're lost. They don't have, like, the Islanders are playing as a team, And the
Right.
Avalanche are just a bunch of players trying to win a hockey game. And that's the
Yeah.
big difference. Like, they're making the Islanders look better by just doing what they always do, a C+ effort, just going out there and playing hockey as a team. And the Avalanche are still trying to figure it out. And when they make mistakes, they don't know how to fix them because they're not a team. Like you mentioned, why are they messing with the top line? Nothing's worked yet. You don't have a win. You haven't found a winning formula yet. And that whole team is in flux. If you could look back at the puck chasing and overcommitting on the forecheck and nobody backing them up, it went on all game long. So yes, those mistakes do come and bite you eventually on the score sheet because nobody knows how to compensate for how everybody else is playing because they're not playing as a team.
And you just don't feel like, at least in this game, again, like for the first 2 games, like they had 4 goals in both of those games, which is very nice. This one you only got 2, and it was one of those games where, yeah, Sorokin was playing so well, and then there were moments where the Avs would get a look, and he would shut it down, and it had the feeling of we might not get another chance like that in like a good look. Not I mean, because how many shots on goal did they have?
They ended up making it a lot closer than it actually was.
Than it was, because I think they only had 5 in the second period. I'm using ESPN tonight, and I like, for some reason the NHL website still has this game in the beginning of the 3rd period. So I don't know where all this stuff is on ESPN.
The Islanders finished out with 38 shots, and the Avs had 34, but it was a bigger discrepancy than that, and it had a lot to do with pulling the goalie with 4 minutes to go. A Patrick Waugh tribute.
Yeah, definitely. And there was one where Cale Makar had just a wide open look right in the house and sailed it wide. And then it turned from that, which I think would have made it a 4-3 game, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe a minute later, Islanders scored. Yeah, that's what it was. The Islanders scored to make it 5-2, and then they got the empty netter. So it was just missed opportunity after missed opportunity. You're right. It just seemed there was no flow going on with the Avs, none. And I think that's going to happen early in the year. When you're down the guys you're down, you do have a lot of new faces in here. Stuff like that will take time, but when you're losing in the process, it doesn't help. When you're losing in the process of that getting to know you period, which really should not be taking this long, it's a bad taste. It's a really bad taste. And this game was just one of those frustrating ones to watch. And I thought it started off okay because a minute in, you get a goal from your highly touted rookie. Let's talk about that. Other things to get to with this game, and of course our Soundcheck and subtext people. So let's get our first break in here, and we'll come back and continue talking about this 3rd loss of the season for the Avalanche. All right, first we're going to hear from FanDuel, and NFL fans. You can start the season with a big return over at FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book. And when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's all you got to do is place a $5 bet, and you got $200 in bonus bets guaranteed over at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. So, yeah, the way the game started for the Avs, exactly what you want. You get Callum Ritchie getting his first goal of his career, and it was a pretty one. He threw a cross-ice pass that went off the boards that went to Josh Manson. And I know we're all focused on Ritchie getting that goal because that's just a big moment for him. The pass from Josh Manson was perfect. Off the boards, he collected it, and then he fired it back to Ritchie and right on the tape, right in front of the goalie crease, and he puts it in for a great moment. And that's a minute in. Yeah, that's his first shift of the night. So they gave you something to feel good about. And we haven't even talked about Georgiev yet, which we probably should, because this is the first game that I can't put it all on him.
Nope.
I thought he had he made some good saves. The first one, I would have liked to see him just shut off that angle right there. Who got the first one for the Islanders? You're gonna have to look that up for me because I don't have all this stuff. Here it is. Anders Lee. Anders Lee had the first one, and he just came from back behind the net and kind of jammed it, and he stopped it the first time, but didn't stop the second time. Yes, I would like to see some defenders just take him out.
Yep.
Why are they not doing that? Sure, I think that's a little bit twofold. Let's see the
second one was atrocious. That diving,
the second one?
The diving forward poke check that did not happen.
Yes,
that one.
So,
that was galvanizing for Georgiev, because I feel like that was his double down. This could either be great or it can go poorly, and it went poorly. And he said, and at that moment, things tightened up. Yes, they started running away with some goals, but I felt like that was his moment where he said, okay, it cannot get worse than this moment right here. I look like an absolute moron making this move. Yeah. And it was a lot tighter from there. Yes, it wasn't ideal, but it was a lot tighter. And then you start when he started stringing together those saves, your focus goes from Georgiev to, my goodness, why is Cale Makar getting tied in the net and letting guys just skate around him and using that as a pick play? And why is the defense out of position? Like, you start looking and saying, oh, this is more than a Georgiev problem. This goes all the way up. And then your focus goes away, and then you look up and you see that he has 32 saves on the night.
So that second goal, there was a little bit of luck for the Islanders there, because he actually did get his stick on the puck first, and it bounced right off his knee. Who got that one? That was Kyle Palmieri. It bounced off his knee right to his stick. But my issue is with, should you be making that play? Again, I didn't play the goalie position, but I'm only going to make that risky play if it's like a 50, not even 50. It's got to be 51-49 in my favor. And it wasn't. It was not one of those 50-50 pucks. It was closer to the Islanders player than it was to Georgiev. I wouldn't have risked it. I would not have risked it at that point. And it's a good thing that you had the game on mute, because I kind of felt like the Altitude broadcast team was kind of making an excuse for Georgiev that it was the right play to make. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, I don't agree with that, guys.
Not in that situation.
No, I really don't. And again, if I'm saying that, and sometimes, maybe people are focusing on the part where it's like, well, it just went off his knee. Yeah, I get that, but that's what can happen.
Yeah,
that's exactly what can happen. Like, it's a fluke play. If it happens again, maybe he does knock it aside, but I just wouldn't have done that. I didn't think there was enough separation between the puck and Palmieri where you go risk that at that stage in the game. I didn't like it. Third goal, the Islanders they just had an extended offensive possession. Avs were tired. Shillington kind of, I don't want to say he made a bad play. There's a guy behind him, and the puck could have got passed to him. So he's kind of in no man's land. He has to take two guys. It was just an unbelievable move by Brock Nelson to score. So you got to give him credit for that one. And then the fourth one is the one where Makar just goes for a cross-ice pass and just gets picked off by Nelson. And that's a shorthanded goal. And that's just a mental mistake right there. So not all of them on Georgiev for this game. And like I said in the beginning, this was just a top to bottom, a difficult game to really watch. This is you don't see this a lot from an Avalanche team, even in the beginning, early stages of the season. But you're getting it right now, and they got to figure this out. They got to get more on a cohesive page with one another, and it's got to happen now. Because go ahead, and we'll talk about the month.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say about the rest of the month. This is really a turning point. 3 games in, but this is a turning point for the attitude and machismo of this team, where they can go in the locker room and whine about it's just frustrating. Pucks aren't going our way. Or you can say, hey, we could do better than this. This was not our best game, and we are better than this, and own up to it and play better. Like, you have to turn it around. You can't keep saying, well, the puck just didn't bounce our way, just wasn't our night. they capitalize on our mistakes. Yes, that's true, but you also have to own up to this was poor play, top to bottom, and you have to get better because the rest of the month it's not going to get easier either.
Well, it should, because we talked about this when the schedule came out. We looked at October, like, wow, that's a pretty favorable month. And just to give everybody a refresher, for the rest of the month, yeah, you have Boston coming to town on Wednesday. That's your next game. Friday is Anaheim, a team widely expected to finish at the bottom of the standings. Your next game after that is in San Jose, a team expected to be the worst team this year. And then you have Seattle, okay, middle of the road team. Utah playing very well to start the season. And then you're at home, a back-to-back against Ottawa and Chicago. And then you finish off the month at home against Tampa Bay. And I'm not saying like top to bottom it's an easy month, but you see teams like Anaheim and San Jose and Columbus, who you already lost to, and Chicago, and you're like, okay, this should be a good month. Now this is, forget about the opponent. You just got to put the system back in place and put the system together and go win a game, regardless of if you're expected to beat them or not.
Yeah, look behind you. Like, you gave Columbus their first win of the year. You gave the Islanders their first win of the year. Like, it doesn't matter what the team looks like. The lesser opponents have already proven they can beat you just by playing average hockey. And the Avalanche just need to play average hockey. They're not even doing that right now. They are lost and out of sorts, and they have to just play average hockey. And then you could go back to we have Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar. They should be able to win every game with that roster. Well, they have proven they can't. So they have to play at least average cohesive team hockey, because the way they're playing hockey right now, it doesn't matter if it's Boston, if it's Florida, if it's Utah. They're going to get run, and not just a close game. There hasn't been a close game yet. These are abhorrent scores.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, let's get our last break in. Do you want to mention some guys that I thought that played well? We'll do that, subtext, and our sound check as well. So it's all that coming up next. All right, let's hear from Hims. And your love life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to the doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. You just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatment to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED options that works for you. So start for free online. Visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. And the products mentioned here are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply, and see website for details and important safety information. Subscription is required. Prices vary based on product and subscription plan. So was it all doom and gloom for the Avs? I mean, I think a lot of it was, but you did have Callum Ritchie, who did get his goal. We talked about that. I'm kind of going to the young guys. I thought Sam Malinsky had a good game. I thought he played well. I thought Kovalenko on that third line, I thought was doing well early on in the game. Even the fourth line, I thought was doing okay. But as the game went on, you did see kind of just guys disappear. Like Ivan, I really didn't see much of him. How much did he actually play in this game?
Great question.
8 minutes and 42 seconds, and it kind of showed. I mean, that fourth line didn't play out. Kiviranta played almost 10 minutes, and Wagner played 6 minutes and 46 seconds. So, and again, when you're behind, you're not rolling out your depth line. You also had Ludwig play his first game, and I thought he looked good.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought he was good. So, I think those guys with Richie, I think kind of, let's see, I'll say Richie. I thought Colton played a pretty good game. Middlestat, another goal for him. Three games, 3 goals for Casey Middlestat. He's been the bright spot right now.
And for the first time in his career as well. So that's
yep.
You can see he's settling in comfortably. And just that little flash of hope for the future going forward in this little stretch, we had just a brief gasp of air of Logan O'Connor's shorthanded magic in this game. Like it was almost there. So that's positive to see that he's feeling comfortable and that's coming back. And you like to see if that can shine Wednesday, but it was nice to see that again.
Yeah. Over on Subtext, they had a lot to say. I'll get to a couple of them. Heather says, congrats to Callum Ritchie. Excited for the newbies and rookies we have. But when our team is 2/3 veterans and 1/3 rookies with 5 main guys, and she lists all the guys that we talked about, are out, we have to anticipate and accept the break-in period. She's right, but I don't want to accept it. I want to win while we're getting that getting to know you period, because it shouldn't be happening in it like now. Are you feeling like maybe the Avs should have utilized their training camp and preseason a little bit differently now?
Yep, 1000%.
Don't you kind of feel that way? Like if you know you have you knew you were going to be out, Landeskog, Lehkonen, Val, like you knew you were going to be out those guys. Why make? And I know it's a long season. I get that. But wouldn't you want to just play them a little bit more in the preseason just to get them acclimated a little bit better? I maybe it's hindsight's 2020 at this point, but I don't know.
I would have definitely done at least a dress rehearsal for this current roster construction and had them play 1 or 2 of those preseason games all together.
Yeah. Joe says the team just looks out of sync in general. Also, Sorokin showed up big time. Yeah. Both of those things are exactly what we were saying. 100% true. Yep. Let's see. We got Craig says we've been spoiled by Makar's past play. It always seems to hurt more when he makes a mistake. On a positive note, it was great seeing Richie get his first goal. In addition to Georgiev, Georgiev was in the net for almost the entire game. I've seen some improvement, but I'm already giving Boston the win on this upcoming game. For the sound check, he's going a lot of chili peppers early on in the sound check. He's going chili peppers other side from there. So I don't want to just go out and just say, hey, Boston, just hand them the win, because that's not like Avalanche. You're a professional sports team that's expected to compete for the prize. So no, they're not just going to go out there and just go through the motions, but it's going to be tough. Like now it's in your head.
It's,
right?
I mean, you're going off sample size, and I mean, the Avs have to get it together.
And Katie says, honestly, at this point, all you can do is laugh. On the whole, I'm not panicking considering like half our team is AHLers and rookies at the moment. But man, you do wish the goaltending was better to give the AHLers and rookies more of a cushion to make mistakes. Regardless, the team will look drastically different in a month or two. So reevaluate then, I guess. Yeah, but it's not just the AHLers that are making the mistakes.
Yep.
Kel McCarr made a huge one.
Yep.
Huge one. So it's not just them. I get what she's saying. Like, you feel bad for those guys because they're constantly having to push, and they don't want to make another mistake to put their team down even more than they are. But it's kind of just, it is what it is right now.
And I haven't been the biggest Georgiev fan, but he is probably the last person I would blame in this game.
Oh, Georgiev? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. In this one, definitely. So, All right. Finish things up with our subtext or our sound check. So if you're new to the show, Kyle and I pick a song that we think best summarizes the most recent game. And we put these songs up on a playlist over on Spotify. You can go search LOA Soundcheck. This one is volume number 4. So what do you got for this game, sir? Islanders and Avalanche.
This one, it hit me in the feels. And whenever I get in the feels, it's either Dave Matthews Band or the Black Keys. So we're going Black Keys.
Okay.
And this song is It's Up to You Now. It's definitely a vibe. It's a short song. It's about like a minute 40.
Really?
But it's a great song. It's off the Blue album. It's great song. And honestly, Avalanche, it's up to you now. Like, you have all your pieces on the ice. It's not getting any better. And it's up to you to make this work. Like, you have to go out there and win the game and play as a team. So you can have all the excuses in the world, and guess what? It's not a Yorgov anymore. It's up to you now.
Funny thing is, like, Ben Harper has a song called "It's Up to You Now," so we really could put the same song title up there for different songs, obviously. But I'm gonna go with there's a Sleep Token song called "Are You Really Okay." It's a very, very depressing song. It tackles a very serious subject, but this, basically more going off the title than anything else. Are we really okay? The answer right now is no. And there's no, smashing panic button or anything like that, because this is a very, very long season and this is 3 games. But again, you just go back to, if this happened in December, you'd be like, all right, what's going on? You're going to fine tune things here. But the fact that it's now we're saying now it's the first 3 games of the season, because it's happening there right at the onset of the season. You're like, okay, is this who the Avalanche are this year? No, I don't think so. And I have full confidence that they can, turn this thing around. It's just not. It's the worst possible start you could think of. The worst possible start.
Yeah, they got to quit showing up to the ice thinking that just the pieces alone are enough. Like, puzzle pieces carry weight, but until you put them all together, that's when it has gravity. And that's what this team needs to have, is some kind of gravity and identity. And right now, there isn't any.
So we'll see. We'll talk tomorrow. We recorded like right after the game ended, so I haven't heard anything, any sound bites in locker rooms and Bednar's comments and things like that. So interested to see what he has to say about this game in particular. Is he on kind of par with what we've been saying? Just probably unhappy.
He was the first off the bench after the game. He was down that tunnel. He was gone.
Then I'm really interested now. So we'll talk about that stuff and anything else that goes on in the Avalanche world. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode. But that will wrap it up for today. So thank you for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Van Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. You just made it through another day of Sidney Crosby. It's one day closer to being an Avalanche sweater.
He'll never come here now.